afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all the participants over here. Welcome to the fifth series. It's already the fifth series of our Smart Forward Web Forum. Today, discussion will be focusing on the understanding the people element of the Industry 4.0. Our sharing topic for today is accelerating technology adoption through talent development. Okay. I am King Tik over here, your host and your moderator. Just let me briefly introduce to you Smart Forward for those who just came in for the first time. Smart Forward is a collaborative initiative to accelerate the journey towards smart manufacturing. The objective of Smart Forward is to address manufacturers' concerns and challenges to adopt the Industry 4.0. Businesses can get Industry 4.0 related articles, case studies, events, solutions from our web portal, which is smartforward.my. Smart with the numerical 4, WRD.my, and our e-newsletter as well. Our e-newsletter is the My Industry 4.0 Journal. The Smart Forward also organized webinar like what we're having today, and corporate visits, surveys, consultation services to bridge the gap of SMEs embarking into the smart manufacturing journey. Now, in our fourth series, or our last series, we have the chance to hear from the company called Agnesis, okay, on their smart manufacturing journey, as well as some of the brief from Monitor ERP on how can manufacturing ERP offers you integrated data that makes more business sense. For those who miss it, you can actually view it also in our Smart Forward YouTube. In our Smart Forward YouTube, we have actually compiled not only our previous past session of our web forum, we have also compiled a series of the case studies by a lot of the Malaysian companies who are already in their journey of the smart manufacturing. So you can actually learn from the others as well in the YouTube. Now today, we have two distinguished speakers over here. First, we have Dr. Chua Wen-Shyan. Dr. Chua, the head of Malaysian Smart Factory 4.0, Selangor Human Resource Development Center, SHRDC. Dr. Chua is no stranger to many of us in the Industry 4.0 business ecosystem. For me, he is the encyclopedia of Industry 4.0. Why do I say so? Because he is able to link up different aspects of the Industry 4.0, be it from the technology perspective, from a process, from the talent development, from the adoption, open source or ready solutions. When you ask him anything about Industry 4.0, he will be able to answer you. Okay. Dr. Chua, he is also appointed by the MPC, Malaysia Productivity Corporation, in collaboration with the Machinery and Equipment Productivity Nexus, as one of the mentors or advisor for the Productivity 1010 initiative to support the industries in their journey towards digital transformation. As the head of the Smart Factory 4.0, Dr. Chua and his team are focused in delivering high-impact talent development programs to accelerate the growth of the local talents who would be the workforce in supporting the growth of Industry 4.0. I myself, together with some of the MITI senior officers, have attended the Dr. Chua's training as well, because there is one of the training called Rise Forward, which is a program which is subsidized by the government to offer to SMEs to learn more about Industry 4.0. We went through it, and a number of the bosses who attended the training, they actually given me the feedback that after the training, they know what they should do, they know what they should not do, and they know what should they prepare for. So this is very important when you wanted to embark into the Industry 4.0 journey. Now, the second speaker that we have here is Mr. Eddie Fong. Okay, Eddie is the managing director, okay, of our Plasform Sdn Bhd, and he is also the SecGen, the Secretary General of the Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Associations. Okay, Eddie, we can consider him as the big brother in the plastic industries, whereby he has more than 43 years in this industry already, specializing in the injection molding and related processes. Now, we will have the chance to hear from Eddie how he tackles the issue of labor shortage, as well as some key initiatives from MPMA to lend support to the plastic industries to embark into the smart manufacturing journey. Now, let's get started with the forum right now. But before that, our usual process will be that we need to take a group photo first, because we need to be accountable to everyone that we have done this forum, and we have all these participants. We have a lot of enthusiasm to learn more about Industry 4.0. Can I please invite everyone to turn on your video, please, so that my colleague Penny over here would just take a very nice group photo with your smile. Let's open up your video, please, and I hand over to Penny to coordinate this. Penny?
Yep. Hi everyone, I'm Penny. Yeah, so please turn on your camera.
In the last session, Penny told us to stay to smile for 1 minute. I think that it will be quite challenging also. Okay, but let's turn on your video, and we do it fast, and we have a big smile before we start the web forum. Penny, are we ready?
Yeah, but many of them are still not turning on their videos yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are waiting. The ladies need to have some time to put on the lipstick, so let's be patient of that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of them already open.
Okay. So let's smile,
Yeah.
and we will be starting very soon. Smile. Taking for one. The next screen.
Okay, please keep. Because we don't know like you are on which page. Okay, second page. Okay, third page. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Penny. Thank you. Now, very important over here is that before we were going to let Dr. Chua to share with us the people-focused strategy towards the technology adoption before we let Eddie to share his experience on adopting Industry 4.0 technology in his company. Now, what we are going to do today is that we would have a dialogue with both of the panelists after their sharing. And please do drop your questions into the chat box. My colleagues and myself would be compiling all the questions, okay? And we would actually bring it up for discussion. Now, the intention of this forum is not only for one-way direction, whereby that the speakers or the panelists only share their experience. What is more important over here is for us to seek clarity and also to have our own thoughts and test it out whether that should be the way or not should be the way when we actually embark into the Industry 4.0. Okay, now without further ado, let me invite Dr. Chua, and I hand over the session to you, Dr. Chua.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Yap, and the team for organizing this webinar session. A very good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you can hear me clearly and already are able to see the screen. So my name is Dr. Chua, and I am from the Selangor Human Resource Development Center, or SHRDC in short. And I actually manage this space called the Malaysian Smart Factory 4.0, for those of you who have not met us before. So our key strength in SHRDC is really to support the industries to accelerate their technology adoption, right? Through talent development strategies, right? Most of the time we hear a lot of, we hear a lot of feedback from companies, talking about Industry 4.0, really focusing on technology first. But today, what I want to share with everyone here present today is a people-focused strategy, right? And how focusing on the people-first concept will really help you to adopt technology faster, right? This is actually one of the key strategies that we have worked with several industry, including Mr. Eddie as well from Plasform. And this afternoon, I will share with you some of the strategies that we have so that it gives you an insight on what are the possibilities available. So before we sort of go deeper into what this strategy is all about, right? When we look at the industry sentiments, right, when regards to Industry 4.0, and this was actually a survey done by the Smart Forward team, right, whereby, you know, we look deeper into the aspects of, you know, what is your level of knowledge and understanding of Industry 4.0. You know, please choose your Industry 4.0 adoption challenges relating to operational processes. These are just two snapshots, you know, with regards to the survey that was done. And surprisingly, you know, after many years of running Industry 4.0 initiatives in Malaysia through various initiatives, right, many still feedback, right, that understanding what is Industry 4.0 benefits but do not know where to start is one of the key challenge. Do not know where to start, right? Another part is we do not know what are the available Industry 4.0 technology that is relevant to our operation. These are the two major feedback and challenges from the industry, their sentiments on Industry 4.0 in general, right? And this really, you know, shines a lot of light that a lot of business owners, a lot of industries in Malaysia, especially the smaller industries, right, they do not know how to relate, you know, the technology to their business operations, and they really still cannot see what are the key benefits. And the first part of it is they do not know where to start, right? So a lot of this creates uncertainty, it creates hesitance, and hence, you know, eventually when you want to start the first step into Industry 4.0, there is already a big roadblock in front of you because of these challenges, right? Now, when we then look a bit deeper, you know, about, you know, the whole sentiments from the industry, then we notice that, you know, the technological know-how is what's lacking in the business owners and also the industries at the moment, right? They do not know where to start. They are worried that, you know, if I invest X amount of money, it may not bring me much benefits. So what we then tailor is a people-focused strategy, right? Whereby factory transformation begins with the people first, right? Why we put a lot of emphasis to this is because if, let's say, you have you bought a very, very extensive software, a very expensive hardware, you know, in your factory, but eventually nobody uses, right? And if nobody uses, essentially, basically, it's not going to create impact for you, right? And that's why the people part of it needs to come first, right? And you know, you build the domain expertise, and then you slowly scale up your operations. You know, get people involved, get people motivated, and hence get people to know that the technology is there to help you and not to complicate matters to you, right? So to make things easier for companies to understand technology, you know, what we have done is that we broke down into bite sizes for companies to look at in terms of a maturity level. Why we did this essentially is also because many of the companies that I speak to, you know, even at a forum, right? When I attended one forum and I spoke to some companies that were listening to one of the technology providers talking about AI and analytics. So they told me, okay, I want my factory to have AI, I want my factory to have analytics. I said, great, very good. Do you know where your data is from? Right? Do you have data being generated in your machines? Do you have data being generated in your processes? All of them say no, right? And the key problem is there's not enough data, right? And Industry 4.0 is no longer about automation. It's about data automation, right? So you start from level 1, collection of data. Level 2, visualize. Level 3, you store. 4, you formulate. 5, you do analytics. Then 6, you achieve artificial intelligence or many others. It's a step-by-step approach, right? And it's modular enough for companies to adopt, right? They don't see it as too overwhelming. And from a shop floor level, right, or from a manufacturing level, right, most of them can adopt technologies, you know, from level 1, start from the data collection side, then store your data, visualize, calculate your OEE, and then you scale up. Now, all these things used to be complicated. It used to be difficult, but I would say that actually it's not, right? If you follow the right learning strategy or the right talent development strategy, this can actually be achieved almost very, very easily. It's not very complex to do. It just takes a little bit of effort for you to learn it and to implement it, right? And what SHRDC does is that we package all these technological knowledge and know-how and skills and competencies into bite-sized modules whereby companies can join to understand Industry 4.0. So just now, Mr. Yap was talking about, a session that we had with companies during the Rise Forward, right? We had this first program called the Technical Overview. This program actually allows us to demystify Industry 4.0 for the companies, right? Most of the time we hear big buzzwords, but do you really know what is all the internal mysteries of Industry 4.0? So we help you to demystify that, right? And of course, the level 1 to level 5, we have all the technical programs where we actually guide your internal teams, right? Or internal people. We build them up, we actually scale them up into what we call as a factory technologies, right? So that they are able to actually learn the technology, right? Implement the technology within your factory operations. And then eventually, once they are more ready, you can scale up, bit by bit. You don't have to do all the big projects at one time. Start from one project, then move on to the next, right? If you follow the Japanese way of Toyota production manufacturing systems, right? You do have, the terms such as Gemba, Kaizen approach, right? All these are actually very, very good strategies for companies to adopt, whereby eventually you can actually use these lean methodologies to actually improve your transformational process of smart factory, right? So this is what, we have worked with several companies and, build your first dashboard to see your data. Because if you don't see the data moving into your production line, you will never see the gaps. And if you don't see the gaps, you will never know where to improve, right? All the while, I thought that I am, very, very good, but actually the data does not lie, right? The data shows you exactly where you are, right? And that allows you to then identify the gaps to improve your productivity. So this is how, from a talent approach, you can actually achieve your first transformational project, right? And of course, sometimes you may think, is it really doable? Is it really possible for us to invest in talent first to then build our own internal capabilities? I would say that there's a lot of Malaysian local stories that you can hear, right? Which are on YouTube as well. We work with several companies to help them to kickstart, right? And these are also good stories from local manufacturers that people can hear how their journey has started, what are the difficulties, what are the falls that they had, and Mr. Eddie is here live today to share with you even more of those stories and challenges, right? Rather than watching a YouTube, you can ask him all the questions today as well, whether it really works or not, right? And essentially, SHRDC under the Malaysian Smart Factory, we help companies to kickstart their journey, right? If you do not know about technology, you don't know where to start, you don't know how to do certain things, come and talk to us. It's okay, right? We will tell you exactly how it could work or how it could not work, right? Sometimes common questions that come up, should I send all my data to the cloud? Should I depend on a cloud-based system? All these things are common questions that people ask. I have this system, can I connect to the other? Just ask. As much as possible, we will try to answer you, because we are a center where it is a technology learning platform. We do a live demonstration of technologies for our partners. We run proof of concepts for companies. So these are ways where you can learn and don't be scared about Industry 4.0, right? So you can come over, you can talk to us, we will answer all your questions, right? And what Mr. Yap mentioned just now about Rise Forward, this is, I think, a very, very good opportunity for many SMEs, to apply for the Rise Forward grant, because it provides you with this amount, right, 25,000 ringgit, to actually kickstart your journey, right, into Industry 4.0. So if you have a RA report in front of you, you can come and talk to us. We can help you to identify the key programs that you can join under Rise Forward at SHRDC. We also provide, a complimentary consultation if you do have any questions about your reports. If you don't mind to share your snapshots, we are here to help you to understand the technology better. All right. So with that, that's all I have, Mr. Yap, for my presentation, short and sweet for the team over here. And over back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chua. That's why I say I always like Dr. Chua very much. Is that because that it's really short and sweet. You get the key points, you get it fast, you get it accurately. Now, what I just like to summarize a few key points over there from Dr. Chua over there. Just now, Dr. Chua mentioned is that for the technology transformation, it begins with people. But later on, I will have some questions to ask you. Some people disagree with that. So how are we going to do that? Okay, then let me re-emphasize about the Rise Forward over here. Now, myself, because I am also the technical committee member of the MITI Industry Forward Readiness Assessment Program. And for the past 1 to 2 months, we have been going around Malaysia to Ipoh, to Sungai Petani, last week to Kuala Terengganu, and last 2 days we went to Nilai to promote the industry forward, as well as the readiness assessment program, the intervention fund, and how do you get the financing and so forth. And we mentioned about this Rise Forward. I'm surprised that quite high number of the readiness assessment, those companies have done the readiness assessment with the report, still do not know about this program. And what's the best about this program is that last year, from what I know is that last year, the company will need to pay first and then claim it back from HRD Corp. But this year, you do not need to. Basically, you just need to identify who is the right person to go for the training, what are the right training modules or training courses that you should actually go for. Just submit it up together with the training provider information, and then you'll be able to go for this training totally 100% free. It is 100% subsidized by the government. Okay, we fought very hard. We fought very hard to get this budget approved, and for all those companies who have done the readiness assessment, please, even though you might not ready to embark into the smart manufacturing journey in putting in your technology, but if you have the report, please do go for the training first, because the training will give you more insights, a better view in terms of what kind of technology should you embark into, whether you should actually explore different kind of technology, explore your processes and so forth. All these questions will be answered, most of it will be answered, so that when you want to embark into the journey that time, you will have lesser risk, faster implementation, and most of all, lesser cost. So these are the key things that you need to know. And should you need to have more information and so forth, you can contact SHRDC, or you can also contact Smart Forward. I will personally would be able to explain to you why is it good and so forth. And hopefully more companies would jump on the bandwagon to learn more about Industry 4.0. Now, Dr. Chua has summarized it's very brief what Dr. Chua have shared. The most exciting part yet to come, because the most exciting part is always how have an SME company embark into the Industry 4.0 journey. There will be a lot of sweet spots. There will be a lot of challenges. Some of the companies, they fail. Some of the companies, they wasted 100 over 1,000. They learn from the lesson. And we hope that all these lessons learned by the other companies, you can learn from them so that you don't make the same mistake. Now, without further ado, let me invite Eddie. Eddie will be able to share with us in terms of what have they gone through, okay, what have they gone through during the time when they want to embark into smart manufacturing, as well as some of the initiative that the MPMA have to support the industry as well. I would actually pass the session to you, Eddie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kentek, for the introduction. Okay, let me qualify this up because we are on a journey on this I 4.0. It is not that we have arrived. Okay, it is just something we want to share with you because you know, we've gone through some headaches, we've gone through financial losses in terms of spending hundreds of thousands also that it didn't work, you know. But in the last few years, it has worked, you know, somewhat. We've got some successes. So, okay, let me introduce Plasform. Plasform is an SME. We employ about 40 over people. We are a small factory in Kajang doing injection molding. Our motto is not just creating plastic products, but engineering solutions for our customer. So today I will share with you how important it is to do talent development before you even embark on technology adoption. Yeah. So everything begins with a vision. I think before you want to do anything on I 4.0, automation and so on, you have to have a vision. Now, this vision, I think the most appropriate person to come up with the vision is the owner of an SME. Yeah? If the manager has a vision and the owner doesn't buy it, then the whole thing doesn't work. So you have to think about, you know, who has that vision. The owner, I think, is very important. So our vision in Plasform is to be among the top injection molders in Malaysia. Okay, that's kind of a very ambitious vision, but let's say if you don't aim high, you never hit high. Yeah? So we aim very high. So our mission in order to accomplish our vision is to grow profitably. Of course, you can't make losses every year and still be surviving, you know. So to produce satisfied customer by supplying quality products that give good value. That's very important. Everybody is looking for value, not the cheapest, but good value. Giving excellent service that exceeds customer requirements, not customer expectation. Customer expectation sometimes is not achievable. Requirements, yes. Doing better than our competitors. I think we want to, you know, don't want to be just kiasu, but we really want to excel in that sense. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Then as a Christian, I want to have some values in our company. We say the first value is to honor God in everything that we do. The second value is to value and develop each employee. And this is relevant to us today. We want to develop each employee so that we can move up the technological ladder, if you like, and be more productive and eventually, hopefully, more profitable. To treat each person with dignity and to act with integrity. These are very common values, I think, that people write down in their mission statement, but sometimes not carried out properly. But in Plasform, we work this very rigorously. You know, there is a lot of lag here. I don't know why. I press the bottom button and it doesn't work. Okay, let me use my mouse. Okay, this is a shot of the factory. We have 2 production floors. It's a terrace factory in Kajang. 14 machines, all injection molding machines. You see that all the machines are all with robots and cobots and things like that. Let's go. So everybody wants to talk about Industry 4.0 today. So how much of Industry 4.0 do you want to do? Do you do all the 9 elements that is stated in Industry 4.0? Or do you become less ambitious and start with maybe 1 or 2 or even 3? I think, you know, like the saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles start with the first step. Yeah. So don't be too ambitious. Don't do all 9. You will fail miserably. We very conservatively started on 2 and 3 and then 4. This is what Plasform has done. Next slide here. You see, we've done robotics. We've done quite a lot of that. We've done a bit of simulation with mold flow and so on. System integration, we are trying to do that a little bit later, but at the moment, Internet of Things is foremost on our mind. We have done that. Everybody is connected to the internet, and you know, we have quite a good internet service here in Kajang, 500 megabits per second, I think. The cybersecurity, yeah, we're a small company, so if somebody wants to hack into our database, no big issue lah, there's nothing much there of value to them anyway, unless they blackmail us lah with 20,000 ringgit, if we don't pay up. That has happened before. Now we've changed our server to a more secure type of server, so that so far no hacking in the last 2.5 years. Cloud computing, I think, yeah, let us get our data onto our own server working properly first before we send it to the cloud. Why? Because we are not a multi-location manufacturer. We don't have plants in Dubai and London and Indonesia, so that we can need the cloud all the time. Our server, we can still access it anywhere in the world. Anyway, we've configured it up that way. Additive manufacturing, yes, a lot of it goes on in manufacturing nowadays. We do a bit of that. Augmented reality, I think that's a few years away. I think we're not touching that at the moment. Big data, certainly, I think with Dr. Chua telling you about data collection and so on for your digital transformation. It's all about data. We've done a lot of that, and I've found some success. So don't do all 9. Do 2, 3 to start with, and then progress on. Okay, this is going back to 2008 and 2009. As you have heard, I am also the Secretary General of Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association. In 2008, we started a roadmap committee, and I'm one of the sub-chairman of the roadmap committee. We wanted to map where the industry was in 2008. So if you look at the 3 curves there, the blue one represents where we were in 2008. If you look at the graph, it's like this. On the bottom here, on the x-axis is the level of skill of our members, and on the vertical axis is the distribution. It's what we call a bell curve lah. So the bell curve at 2008 was very skewed, so that there's not a lot of high skilled people. 1 is low skill, 10 is a world class, the highest you can attain. So we believe that we were there on the blue curve. So we say in the medium term, we want to actually move the curve to the left, so that we can get more high skilled people in the industry. And eventually, of course, we want to move it to the left, where the green dotted line is, so that in the long term, we have more skilled people on level 6 and 7 and 8. 8, 9, and 10 are what we call world class. You can train up to level 8. The rest, 9 and 10, you have to do your own experiment, your deep learning, and so on to get to 9 and 10. Why are we doing that? We say, okay, the reason why we want to do that is, if you look at the top half of the curve, if you are on low skill, level 1, 2, and 3, your value added is very little. It's just very little here, up to 4. But as you move up the skill ladder, if you like, you see the value added component goes higher and higher. So that means on level 8, you will be making a lot more profit than if you were on level 5. So this is what drove us to embark on what we call the talent development program. And I'm the chairman of the talent development program in MPMA. So this is the background of how MPMA sort of was encouraging our members to go into high skills development and so on. So what triggered the journey to accelerate technology adoption in Plasform? There are 10 that I will list very quickly. Difficulty in getting foreign workers and local workers, very susah nowadays. Difficulty in scheduling and delivery due to absenteeism among local workers, especially local workers. The foreign workers, they don't absent themselves. Inconsistency in manual processes. You depend on an operator to do something. Sometimes on a good day, the yield is 90%. On a bad day, the yield could be 65%. So that's very painful. Rejects caused by handling in the manual process. A lot of double handling means a lot of scratches and so on. Need to reduce the WIP. Yeah, we don't want to have a lot of WIP hanging around. Wages were rising fast in those days, but this was going back maybe about 10 years. So especially true in the last 4 or 5 years, wages rising very fast. Minimum wage is going to hit 1,500. So if you are not prepared for that, you will be in a little bit of strife. Reduction of the boredom of the operators. Why? Because we want to retain workers better. If they get bored, they leave after 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and so on. Increase productivity, automation. If you can do it consistently, you can do it, without people. Surely you would increase productivity. And downsizing the workforce. The more people you have to manage, the harder it is to manage, I feel. Machines are easy. Once you teach a machine what to do, it will keep on doing it 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Doesn't take any sick leave, doesn't have, babies getting sick, wife getting sick, uncles getting sick, mothers getting sick, and so on, then take leave, yeah? So not saying those things are not important to some people, but as an employer, it is important that you have consistent the workforce turning up every day. Monitoring the productivity and the efficiency more closely. So if you have data like what Dr. Chua showed you on a dashboard, then you can be a little bit more informed. Oh, this machine is running 100%, this machine is running 50% or whatever, then you can more closely monitor. Jump there a bit. The last one is need to upskill the technical staff. When you embark on automation, before you embark on automation rather, and technology adoption, I think you need to upskill your technical staff. And this is where we did a lot of that. Now, before you go into automation, technology adoption, let me caution you a little bit here. I think you need to start with what we call lean thinking. What is lean thinking? Lean thinking is a set of concepts, principles, and tools used to create and deliver the most value from the customer's perspective while consuming the least resources and fully utilizing your equipment, the knowledge, and the skills of your people. So this is lean thinking, using the least resources to achieve the maximum result, if you like. So start with that, because if you don't think lean, you can be spending a lot of money on very sophisticated equipment, which will become white elephant. I always say, if you don't have a robust process to start with, when you automate that process will automatically make rejects. And that will be a very painful experience for you. But if you have a robust process, you think lean, then when you automate, it'll be a joy. Next one. Okay, so things to consider before embarking on technology adoption. Number one, financial requirements. Machines, equipment, robots, and things don't come cheap. You touch anything, is the tens of thousands of ringgit. So you need to consider whether you have the financial resources. Now loans are pretty much available, so you can get even grants and all that. But unfortunately, the grants only pay you after you get your things done and you paid for everything. Then only the government will reimburse you. So you still need the financial resources to start. Talent requirements. Do you have enough talents internally? Can you employ talent externally through a consultant? Is there a need for training your people, in-house, so that they can keep up with the technology? So in Plasform, our story is that 10 years ago, when we embarked on automation, we bought a servo Cartesian robot, fully programmable. We did 1 job, 2 jobs, and then we find that, wow, our people are not ready. They don't have the mindset yet. They don't have the right skill set yet. So we paused for a long time. We paused for about 6 years before we embarked on it again. Why? Because we were wanting to train our people first. So about 5 years ago, I think we started training our people very heavily. And then we started adopting technology very heavily, very aggressively after that. Acceptance by your existing staff. This is a problem. If your staff don't have the right mindset, will they buy in whatever you want to do? If they don't buy in, then you cannot work, with them, and it will be a flop. Pace of implementation. How fast can you pull off all this automation, technology adoption? Do you give yourself a year, 2 years, 3 years? I4.0 is the journey. It's not like you embark on it today, next year you're there, with due respect to what the government can tell you, adopt it quickly and so on. But if you haven't got the lean mindset, if you haven't got the people with the correct training, if you haven't got the right skills, then it can be a problem. You might not be able to pull it off. Like Keng has said that many people have spent money on ERP system, very chunky equipment, but it's become a white elephant. Hundreds of thousands of ringgit is written off. We have that experience. We implemented a data collection system, paid 160,000 for it, and you know, we worked for off and on for about a year and a half and so on. So eventually we found something much better, and we wrote off the old one. So that's 160,000 ringgit down the drain. Then you have to think about disruptions to production during your implementation, because when you're putting a robot on your existing machine, you might have to stop it, you know, and you know, spend about a week and tweaking it before it works automatically for you. So interruption. Okay, the training, some pictures about Plasform training. You can see me there in the picture in my Plasform uniform, along with my staff here, Jason. You know, going for the training. This is another staff of mine, just me, and there's another one, Chandra. We went through a series of training, and now just me, Jason has gone through 800 hours of training between 2014 to 2016, I think. Remember the figure, 800 hours of training. That's no mean feat. So during that time, you know, as an SME, we were in a dilemma. Now, if you send the people for training, who runs the factory, you know? So the boss has to fill in the gap. So you have to think about that. Because if you don't bite the bullet and send them for training, you cannot improve. If you send them for training, in the meantime, you know, in the 1.5 years they were attending the course, they were out of the factory in the training sessions more than they were in the factory. So a lot of things, you know, you have to work doubly hard. Those existing staff have to really fill the gap. So that is one thing that you must keep in mind if you're an SME. And I'm an SME, so I know what it's like. So we went through that, we bit the bullet, we sent them for training, it paid dividends. Some of the results and successes that we have after the training was improved cycle times via improved cooling, lessening dwell time. These are injection molding jargons. I don't want to bore you with it. I'll go through it very quickly. Lessening dwell time, so machine don't wait for half a second before they do A to B to C, you know, so there's less waiting. Ejecting parts hotter. Some materials that we use can be ejected or come out of the machine a lot hotter than it's doing now, you know. So if you want to optimize that, you have to you know what temperatures they're ejecting. I shall show you some examples and explain to you how we did that. Optimizing mold and robot movements, it's another way. If your robot is moving at 50% of the speed instead of 75% of the speed, you are losing 0.38 seconds on one stroke alone, you know. So if there are 10 strokes for the robot, then you're losing many seconds, you know, if you slow the robot down. But of course, there's a caution here. If you speed up the robot to 100%, then the robot might break down a lot faster. So you have to balance that. Modifying molds, you know, this is the injection molds to run on auto degate, so that instead of operator cutting the gate, the mold, when it opens, is already, the gates are cut. You know, there are ways of doing this to modify the design. Optimizing other molding parameters, you know, on adjustment on the machines and so on. So, oops. Okay, here. Okay, one example, you know, this part here on the left-hand side, you see, it was running at a 22-second cycle. You see that? Sorry, the diagrams are a little bit crude. You know, I typically do this. When I get the result, I take a photograph and mark it and label it and so on. So I don't have time to go and make it all look very chunky and so on, but I think it tells the story. This part was running 22-second cycle. If you try to run it a bit faster, it breaks at that point here. You know, the runner starts to break there. So we say, okay, what can we do? So if you look at the right-hand side, we added two waterways, two cooling channels there, and then we drill it right through the mold, drill it right through, loop it up, connect a water to it. Then what we did was we actually managed to run it at 16-second cycle eventually. Yeah. So if you look at the productivity improvement or the cycle improvement, 22 minus 16 divided by 22 is a 27% increase in productivity or cycle improvement. That was done in 2020. 2021, before the pandemic. We have other examples I want to show you. Okay, this one is about the auto degating. If you look at the left-hand side here, you see that the parts are attached to what we call the runner. So now somebody has to come and cut these things away from the runner in order so that we can use the part. Now, what we did was we redesigned the mold, spent some money. We spent about 2,000 ringgit in this case to actually modify the mold. Now the mold, as it opens, the parts are severed or cut away from the runner. So there's no need for an operator to follow up to cut the gate. This is the example of the ejecting the part rather at a higher temperature. This part was running at a cycle of 65 seconds and the cooling time was 45 seconds. So we look at the thing, we say, it feels very hot when it comes out. Can we still run it hotter? If you do it by hand, there's no way you can tell what the temperature is. So we bought a 18,500 ringgit thermal imager. The thermal imager will take a picture snapshot like this and tell you all the temperatures you need to know at each point. So we take 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, and say, okay, what were the temperatures of these points? At the highest temperature point, the part was running, ejecting rather out of the mold at 74.92 seconds. Don't know why the second decimal is there, but anyway, 75 seconds is close enough. So we say this material can actually eject at a much higher temperature than 75 seconds. So we say, why don't we take down the cooling time from 45 seconds to 31 seconds? Saves you something like about 14 and a half seconds. So we say, let's do that and see what happens. So we did that and allow it to run so that it's steady down, after about 20 minutes, I think. You find that it was still ejecting at 89 degrees. So we say it's okay, this material can eject at 90 degrees. Okay, so 89 degrees is fine. The other parts of the runner was 76 degrees, a little bit hotter, but no problems at all. The mold was 32 degrees. Now the mold is 37 degrees because when you run faster, there's more heat input in. Somebody is speaking. So yeah, so we save from 65 seconds to 51 seconds. So that's a bit of productivity improvement, I guess. So adopting automation technology, what are the other areas that we adopted? Simple ones like synchronized conveyors. I will show you examples of this. Programmable Cartesian servo robots. I told you 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 2000, 2010, sorry. We bought some Cartesian robot, a servo Cartesian robot, but found that our people were not up to it, We actually use it as an ordinary robot. What a waste. But never mind. In the meantime, we learned, we send them for training. Then now we are using about 4 Cartesian servo robots plus cobots. Now, what's the difference between the 6-axis robot and the 6-axis cobot? A robot is usually an industrial robot where it will just move as you program it. But the only problem is if you have operators standing in the pathway of the robot will kick the operator, and try to kick him away because it's obstructing the robot and it doesn't have any sensor. So either the robot breaks or the operator breaks. Very dangerous. So, but with the cobot has got sensors in its joints and so on. So it's got a torque sensor, it's got a force sensor. So you can put an operator to work beside a cobot. If the cobot hits the operator with a certain force or a certain torque, then the cobot will stop. It senses that. So it's a lot safer. In our factory, it is small, so we use a cobot. Because if you put a robot there, you need to have guards and so on. Our factory is too small for those guards, so we employ cobots. And then the cobot or the robot can work in tandem with ancillary equipment. I will show you examples of that. Okay, this is a synchronized conveyor. We used to have one operator sitting down there when the machine opens and one part is dropped on the conveyor moves continuously down to the operator. So the operator waits there for about nearly 1 minute. This is a 1.5 minute cycle. So she picks up the part and does something with it, like what we call a post-molding operation. So to put an operator there waiting for 60 seconds is a waste of the operator's time and human resource. So what we did was we synchronized the conveyors and said, okay, can we synchronize other machines so that, you know, there are 10 parts or 8 parts or 6 parts on the conveyor, so that the operator needs to only come back every 10 minutes or even after every 5 minutes. That way, one operator can look after 2 or 3 machines. So we thought, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that, you know. So we bought some synchronized conveyor. So if you have an operator looking at one machine, now you have one operator looking at 2 machines. That's a pretty good productivity improvement, don't you think? 50% increase in productivity. If you have one operator looking after 3 machines instead of 1, then you got a 67% you know, increase in productivity, because you're paying one operator rather than 3. So it's worthwhile thinking about that, injection molding. Now this is a Cartesian robot that is actually used to automation. Hey, what happened? The video. I show you a video. It's a very simple operation. When we start with automation, we always start with the simplest operation. I bear this in mind because it's easy to get a success story when you have a simple operation. So when you have the success story, your people will think, oh, can work, you know. If the first one failed because you try to put it in a very complicated job and it fails, then your people say, see this boss, too high power, you know, cannot run, you know. Then they will get discouraged. So this is the one. The robot takes out the part from the machine. We slow down the robot so that you know, it doesn't need to hurry because the cycle time is well within the gate, and throw away the runner into a crushing machine down there. So very simple. This is a fully programmable Cartesian servo Cartesian robot. Yeah. So and the next one. Now this is a more sophisticated one. This is a cobot. So this cobot is also, when we start with a cobot, we also use it to do a fairly simple operation. So this one is picking out the machine. Yeah. So we used to have an operator cutting all the, can you imagine? Now we have the cobot and the cutter working in tandem. So if you want to talk about ROI, so this cobot costs 80,000, yeah, including some contraption and all that lah. So now, if you have an operator sitting there, you know, 24 hours a day, which we run 24 hours a day, so each month is going to cost you about 5,000 ringgit, because operators, you know, with the levy and so on, it's 2,005 at least a month, 2,005 at least a month per operator. 2 shifts, 2 operators, 5,000 a month. So 5,000 a month, if you pay 80,000 and plus a bit of disruption and additional, you know, programming and so on, how long is your payback? So work that out, you know, 16 months maybe is payback time. So quite good lah, you know, if you can fully utilize the cobot. Okay, next one. So we are using a cobot to do assembly, automatic assembly of a cab. What plug here that is picking up through a vibration. So it's not all over again. Yeah. So now this cobot rather can do many things, you know, and you can run it a bit faster. Here we slow it down because it's the first time we are doing it, you know, in the machine, and so on. This is a real life thing, so that we want to see how it performs, you know, and so on. But you can increase the speed by maybe another 20%, and it will do quite nice. Okay, so oops, what is this doing? Oh, I just want to show you this video. Actually, there were two robots working together. You saw the cobot on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side, you see a Cartesian robot. Yeah, so you see, before this, we were assembling this by hand. Can you imagine how boring this is if you assemble, 100,000 pieces of these, in a production run? The operator gets so dumb, by pushing this plug into the CAD, So now it's all done with the robot. So we found another use of a robot. We say, hey, this robot can do so many things. So can you do a milling operation, like a machining center? And we kind of adapted it for one of the operations. It's doing an automatic milling, with a profile kind of a shape. It's milling very nicely. And because it's accurate enough, milling 0.1 away from this part, it's well within the capability of robot to do that. Yeah. So this is one, how should I say, side benefit. We find that, hey, why can't we adopt it, with a milling cutter?
A lot of the investment you have done for your factory, Eddie, very, very good.
Yes. You're talking about more than 500,000 just for the robots alone and the cobot.
Yeah.
Okay, so adopting other technologies, we not only do this, we have vision sensor system to prevent double clamping of the mold. In other words, if the part is stuck in the mold, when the mold...
Eddie, sorry to cut you there. This allows some of the time for the participants to ask questions.
Yeah. So let me just show you quickly. This is a vision camera. So when the mold opens, it snaps a picture. If that part is stuck in the mold before it closes, it won't close. It prevents damage to the mold. Yeah. Okay, this is a picture of what the vision sensor captured. So you see the mold is clear, no parts are stuck in there. So when it confirms that, then the mold closes. So we also invested in a face recognition system or fingerprint scan system for our attendance system, so that with this and HR2000, within 2.5 hours, we can work out all the salaries and so on. Whereas before this, we take 2.5 days to read the clock card and tabulate all the salaries. So 2.5 days compared to 2.5 hours is worth saving. So here is a short video. I take about another 2-3 minutes. So this is how we climb up the mold. This is sort of manual process. Let me forward. So one side of it takes 13.43 minutes, also 13 minutes 43 seconds. So if you climb the other side, so it take about 26-27 minutes. Now we have invested in a magnetic clamp system like this, where you put a clamping plate, bolt it onto the original machine. This is a magnetic clamp, and all you need to do, there's nothing to see here because 1 second is done. All you need to do is just press a button, put the mold in between the machine, press a button, within 1 second, it's already clamped the mold together onto the machine. So what you save is about 26 minutes and 50 seconds or whatever, So for each mold change, you save about 26-27 minutes. It's worthwhile, but it's a lot of money. This is 40,000, 50,000 worth of clamping plate. We are investing in a digitized scheduling system. I think you heard about ERP Monitor. Monitor has got something like this, but we are actually developing a customized system with a software developer so that we can load it up, digitally. We know where the gaps are. This is only a sample. It's not the real thing. We are implementing it now and, just starting to. So you know your availability of the machine, then you can calculate from your efficiency and from your quality yield, you can calculate your OEE. That's what we are hoping to do soon. So data collection system, you want to know when exactly your machine is running, if there's interruption, why is it interrupted, whether it's running to costed cycle or not. You want to see from all over the world, So we can see on our own server. I can view it from all over the world. You can add other things like mold setup time, purging time, startup time, and time to approve mass production and so on. And mount the mold dismount time, because you have to mount the mold up the machine and dismount the machine. Just now you saw it was 27 minutes. So with the magnetic clamp, it's only 2-3 minutes lah. So there you go. And this is one of the dashboards. I think you saw it from Dr. Chua. So it tells a lot of story here. Okay, this machine is running, machine number 9 is running at a bit better than your target cycle. So it's 102%. There was no interruption between 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night. Okay, this is 11 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night. But machine number 10, unfortunately, has got some interruption. It's only running about 90% efficiency. Over the same time, there was one short interruption, a longer interruption, and then another longer interruption. So you can go back to your data now and analyze, hey, why was it? You ask your technicians, you can have a record of this, and then you can ask your technician, why was there 15-20 minutes stop there? Or they tell you this, that. So if it's a mold problem, then you can take some steps to eliminate the mold problem. If it is a machine problem, then you can take some steps to eliminate machine problem. Eventually, hopefully, all the lines will be running on top there, 102%. We have run 116% also, and so on. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Hope that has been enlightening. So for the SMEs who want to go into it, are thinking to go into it, I hope this one will inspire you. For those who have started, I hope the sharing will also encourage you that you are not alone in doing this. For the government people who thinks that I4.0 is a breeze, automation is a breeze, it is not. It's years and years of thinking about it, implementing, going through some heartaches, have some pitfalls, then you come to some small successes like we have. So thank you. I think back to you.
Thank you very much, Eddie, for your sharing. Now, you see, from Eddie's presentation, okay, we can see that there's a lot of effort needed. You need to invest in your time, you need to invest in your people, you need to invest in the machine. You might have make some investment that is not worthwhile before, trial and error, and with a lot of the guidance needed also. Now, for all the participants over here, please do put your questions into the chat box, while I myself have a lot of the questions with regard to people to ask both of these panelists over here. Now, please put your questions in the chat box because this is the golden opportunity for you to get clarity. Now, first of all, let me ask now, Eddie and Dr. Chua, just now Eddie have shown a lot that presentation that is quite scary to me. But why do I say scary to me? Now, because Eddie have been mentioning, you see this machine, right now you need less 2 people. That machine invested, I need less time. That machine, I already less 2 or 3 people again. Now, the thing is that for a lot of SMEs, there are different group of the talents or the employees. One is the unskilled workers, and one maybe are the supervisory role that they have already, the technicians that already been long with you. Now, I have already heard from a lot of the SMEs that when they wanted to embark into the journey, there are a lot of worries among the employees. Because why? Because they say, hey, boss, you're embarking into Industry 4. Are you trying to get rid of us? That would be one of it. And because of that, I also heard some of the cases that because that they were so worried, they sabotaged the project. Now, I first would like to ask Dr. Chua first. What do you think of that? Is it the Industry 4, is it for you to eliminate your existing staff or employee, or it is something else? Maybe you can just explain a little bit more detail.
Sure, no problem, Mr. Yap. I think it's not about eliminating people on the floor, but it is actually repositioning their tasks and their day-to-day job. There is laborers to something that is a little bit more skill required, right? So like what Mr. Eddie shared just now, right? If you are doing 100,000 pieces of the same job, the same task on and on, it's really not helping them to move up the career ladder per se, right? Yes, they can do that on a day-to-day basis, but having robotics or intelligent system to be able to replace those laborers' jobs, it is actually more productive that way. But one thing that we can never replace in a factory is human intelligence, right? A lot of times, Industry 4.0, we think that, okay, we need to replace humans. Actually, it's not. There are certain tasks that human intelligence are required and humans' hands-on skills are required. Robotics can never replace that, right? The analytical strategy, the intelligence, moving them up to another role, upskilling them to another role is important for companies to consider, right? So that they are able to do other development tasks, other process improvement tasks, other continuous improvement strategies, rather than every day they are doing a lot of laborers and firefighting jobs.
Yeah.
So I think it's moving up the career ladder for a lot of other employees. And when you save on the lower skilled kind of jobs and tasks, the company itself is actually moving up to the next level already. So they're actually more prepared to hire more skilled workforce to be able to scale the company to the next stage, right? So this is what we see as a trend for some companies. But of course, to move towards that direction may take a little bit of time. That's why there's still some dependence in the foreign labor and also lower skilled jobs. But I think eventually, as companies start to look at upskilling their workers, more and more companies will see the value of higher skilled workforce. Therefore, we are moving that technical skills curve, like what Mr. Eddie showed just now, to have more high impact and high skilled workers to create more valuable and impactful work for the company. Yeah, maybe Mr. Eddie got more to share on that. Yeah.
Yeah, just adding to what Dr. Chua said, it is, you see, we don't have enough workers for the last 2 years. We don't have. The foreign workers stopped coming in, pandemic and all that. 3 or 4 of our machines are never running in the last 2-3 years. But what has happened is during the pandemic, because of all the automation, the ones that were automated were running 7 days a week, 24 hours. That was those were the ones that was, if you like, keeping the company surviving. Okay, now the other thing is when you embark on technology, of course, you need to look at talent. If you don't have internal one, you might have to employ a new guy. What Plasform did was, we got a mechatronics engineer about 2 years ago. He's with us here. Victor Leong is our mechatronics automation engineer. So we got him from from the market, and so we say, Victor, your job is to now concentrate on automation, because you're the guy who understands all these mechatronics thing, robots and signals and sensors and all that. So we did that, and at the same time we want to collect this data, set up a data collection system. So we work with a system integrator, and he is here also. Kengju is here. He's our system integrator. Victor and Kengju work very hard to try to get this dashboard in place. A lot of things, along the way. We say, hey, Victor, this graph doesn't look right. Like it's you got to tweak it. I want to see this information on there. I want to see the last 12 hours instead of the last 24 hours. Things like that, you tweak along the way. So eventually it's working, and the only thing is stopping us from putting it on all 14 machines is some chips were delayed and so on because of the world shortage. But what happens is there is a shift of skill level now. You see, there are more skilled people in ratio compared to like 4 years ago, for example. So
Yeah.
our proportion of skilled people is now higher. I told you that each one of them went for 800 hours of training. So
Yeah.
that is a lot of skill.
Yeah. That's what I want to mention as well, Eddie. Now you see, have been very generous in offering so many hours of training to your team members. But what I'm getting on here is that as you mentioned just now, hey, a lot of the SMEs right now, I don't have enough staff. Okay, if all the staff, you mentioned it yourself, if all the staff go for training, who is going to work? And not every company have a very good CEO managing director. You go down to the shop floor and you do it by yourself, you see. So that is very difficult for a lot of SMEs. Now, my next question over here is that, now, we know that the team members, the expertise is very, very important. No doubt about it. Because if you don't have the team members, you cannot add value. Even you have the machines, you do not know what to do with the machine. You have the data, you do not know what to do with the data. But the thing is that, who do you send? Now, how do you decide who do you send? There are a lot of the training out there. Okay, training out there that, okay, I want to send my people for training. Number one, the SMEs don't even know what kind of training my team should have. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, who should I send? Is it that the business people or the production people? Because the production people, you send them for the upskilling, they know how to do the things, but they do not know how to make use to actually grow the business.
Very,
business
very valid
but
question.
on the other hand, they know how to do business, but they cannot manage. So
Yeah.
how do we decide?
I think the CEO needs to be educated, like, you know, whoever the CEO is, he will need to educate himself. I think this lifelong learning thing first apply to the CEO, then he know how to discern lah. Who to send? It's a very difficult thing. You, like you say, you send the business people, they come back, they cannot do anything. They just understand the concept, you know. So what you do is you send your key technical people, your chief supervisor, your chief, you know, if you've got an in-house engineer, your engineer. Because why the lower rank people, I have a chief supervisor and I have got 4 supervisors, you know, that runs the shift. So 2 on each shift like that. So I send the chief supervisor and the factory manager, okay? Because they are not into the hands-on day-to-day thing, so it's a bit easier. So while they were away, of course, you know, the machine can still run, but sometimes when there's a technical problem, then I can still dig up my injection molding skill from 40 years ago and still go and say, hey, do this and do this.
Not everyone has that, okay?
Understand. So you have to bite the bullet. No choice can take.
Yeah.
If you don't bite the bullet now, you will be shot with a bullet.
I hope the other business owner out there, the SME business owner, take the advice from the Eddie. To embark in this journey, we cannot just let our team do it by themselves. We ourselves need to actually.
Can I say this also? Can I say this? Plasform, we have done a lot of things. We have studied graphs on how to align our organization to the market needs. We have looked at the work culture of the company. We have adopted what we call a new platform culture back in 2001. I forgot, 2014, I think. So we actually drum this into the workers, you know, be happy, have joy at work, you know, teamwork, you know, think innovatively, think out of the box, you know, concentrate on efficiency, serving the customer. That's where our money is and so on. So we drum this into them for many years already. Takes a while to get through the stuff, but eventually it gets through, right? But the CEO, the HR manager, if you're big enough, have to drum this every month. We have a team meeting, we drum it into them. Now we have a vision statement from about 2.5 years ago. We came up with a vision statement. We say, okay, we need something even stronger, you know. So we came up with a vision statement that if you are one of the top injection molders in Malaysia, your bonus will be different, your salary will be different, your environment that you work in will be different, will be improved tremendously, you know. So I challenge them. I say, if we can get this, you know, this is how much bonus you can get. So
yeah, Dr. Chua,
so a lot of things involved, but
I need something from Dr. Chua over there. Is that there's always a comment over here, because this is a very valid comment. With a lot of people have the judgment, I want you to actually demystify it. Okay, some of the SMEs, I can tell you that not all the SMEs has the maturity thinking as Eddie. Okay, I met a lot of SMEs that this is just a technology project. This is not the business strategy. Their mindset is still a little bit not as fast as Eddie. There are many of them. Now, I have even some of the comments that come to me and say that I tell them, you should actually send your people for training so that you can upskill them so to handle the industry 4.0. But they tell me, they say that, King Tay, industry 4.0, you have the data over here, you go what you do the things, it's easy to do it. Why am I spending money, send them for training, and then later on spend money on technology, okay, make their work easier, they have less work to do, and using my money? I have get this kind of comments before. Please help me to open up the mind. Why shouldn't it? Why should it not be that way? It should not be that way. The mindset, Dr. Chua.
Can no problem, Mr. Yap. I think it boils back down to this quote that people always say, knowledge is power, right? It's very important for the upskilling of knowledge for the staff, so that they know what are available technologies out there that can actually be able to make their job easier and faster. When I bring business owners, that have gone through numerous amount of webinars, seminars, workshops for the past many years, right? When I bring them the first time to visit the Smart Factory, right? All of them did not know that a lot of this technology exists. That's number one, right? And when they see, then they're like, hey, we can do it like this. Oh, it's my first time I heard about this kind of system. It's the first time I heard got such a sensor. It's the first time I heard got such a technology. Nobody knows everything, I would say. But if we continuously, get our staff involved for learning and development, right? And this culture is embedded within the company, right? The company is making an investment on their people, which is the asset, to create more value for them in the future. Because if we don't invest in our own people, eventually, they will think that, day in, day out is the same thing. They will eventually look at something else really, right? So if they continuously develop something, they know the value contributed to the company. They know that eventually, if I put in X amount of effort, I will, hopefully get X amount or double X of returns, right? This is something where, it motivates the team, motivates the staff, right? And, to attract the younger generation nowadays to work in factories, to work in manufacturing industry, they like to see new technology, right? Because we are now, having the generation of, people who hold handphones at a very young age, right? So if they go in a factory, but they don't see robots, they don't see, dashboards, we may face a problem where, the company may have a difficulty to attract talents anymore, right?
I just want to, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Eddie. Yeah.
I just want to add, I think the first person to really be trained is the CEO or an SME. If you don't know what technology is available, educate yourself, go find out, MPMA, like we introduced, we organized, the Malaysian International Plastics Conference. Last November, we organized 9 sessions of what we call Plastic Month, Plastics Technology Month. I think Dr. Chua was one of the speakers anyway on factory automation. So those are the sort of forum when you can get a lot of inputs from outside. Because if you just, your free time, go and watch Korean drama and...
Eddie, a lot of SMEs bosses says, hey, King Tay, you think that I'm free? You think that I'm a corporate CEO? I got 100 of people below me. I am the SME managing director, CEO. I need to go and do business development. I need to look at the operation. I need to even dump the rubbish sometimes. Where I got time for all this training? These are most common feedback.
I understand that. let me share with you. I work 10 hours a day on average. Even on a Saturday, I'm working, sometimes on a bit on a Sunday. So there are sacrifices that you have to make as CEO, because I not only run the factory here in the Plasform, I also am SecGen of MPMA. So I had to spend a lot of time talking to the staff in MPMA, organizing seminars, going for government meetings and so on. So about 20% of my time is spent with MPMA. Can you imagine? And then I still have to do what I did. And so it is a little bit of a sacrifice, but let me share and say that if you have the vision and the passion, it is not a drug line. It becomes an exciting journey. For example, when we've got our first cobalt, I bought my cobalt, no grant, no nothing. I just paid 140,000, for the cobalt plus, So my staff looked at it and said, "Wow, boss, this one, very expensive." I said, yeah, we want to do something with it, So they don't know what I want to do with it, but I told them eventually I did want to do this and that and that. They said, "Boleh ka?" So I said, "Yeah, we'll do it, So with help of Kengju and I think that time Victor was with us already. So we set it up and it was doing the gate cutting. You saw the white color one. That was using the UR5, The UR5 is a very expensive robot. We start with a simpler job. Then they saw and said, "Oh, boss, boleh ini ah." So it was running.
Right. That it really takes the CEO to champion the transformation.
Yes, you need a champion.
Industry 4 is has what Eddie mentioned just now, is a transformation journey. It's not a one-off kind of project. And for everyone, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, please drop your questions here, because it's already 55, 5 minutes before 5. Okay, we will leave a few minutes for us to actually ask more questions. If the participants don't have questions, I will continue to grill and drill Eddie and then Dr. Chua. Now, this question I want to ask Eddie. You see, this is also an issue with SMEs. Now, for SMEs right now, if I wanted to get a training provider for IT, well, yeah, it's easy to look for. But to get someone to help my team members to know more about Industry 4.0, not only what it is, but also how to use it, it's not easy to look for a right training provider or right party to guide you in this journey. How would you actually identify who is the most suitable party, and what will be your recommendation to the SMEs how to look for them?
Okay, if you are not in plastics manufacturing and you are not a member of MPMA, that's rather unfortunate, because MPMA is one of the most active associations pushing training, TVET, technology adoption, running seminars almost every second week. There's one more coming up with Dr. Velu on how to design molds and optimize mold design and so on. So we organized Plastic Month in November. So we got something like 1,000 over registration over all the 9 sessions. So that was quite a good success. And those are the forums that you need to join. The other thing you can do is the internet is full of this kind of success story.
But I would go for training provider right now. I'm talking in particular training provider, because I need them to be enhanced with a certain skill. It's not only about just attending the online part. The technical people, they will be very boring. Okay, I want to do my work. Okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are far and few in between. I think SHRDC is one of those few, So get in touch with people like Dr. Chua. I think he will be able to point you to the right direction. If you are into plastics manufacturing, get in touch with MPMA. We got hosts of recorded seminars like this one, and also can point you out to the right people. If you are really stuck, and if what I say today makes sense to you, and you really want to get inspired to do something, maybe get in touch with me. I can point you out to technology, robot suppliers, and the right maybe system integrator to start you off.
But we are talking about training right now, the people side,
the training side, unfortunately, it is not very. Yeah, it's sad that MPMA has submitted so many submissions to HRDF. Now it's HRDC. To
Yep.
do training, but because of the pandemic, that's number one, because of change of government, a lot of these submissions were just got lost, and then because of pandemic, we cannot do face-to-face. But like I say, MPMA still does a lot of training. If you go to our website, every second, third week, there is a training course, but it's only plastics relevant to the plastic people. But in your association, you got to push your association. If you're in the textile, you got to push the textile association president. If you are in the
then let me ask this question to Dr. Chua before I take on the questions from the chat room. Now, just now, Eddie mentioned, wow, it's tough to find the right training provider and so forth. Okay, I mentioned that IT is easily you can find anywhere, but the Industry 4, as what suggested by Eddie, it's really tough to find the right one, and it's not many available. Now, can you, Dr. Chua, tell me how different is your Industry 4 training guidance or whatever mentoring program, whatever? How is it different from the normal Industry 4? Because for us is that Industry 4, if you go for classroom training, are you able to help or not? Or does it that you need to really have a physical or practical kind of things? How would the SHRDC services be different from the other training providers?
Yep. So thank you, Mr. Yap, for the question. So for SHRDC, right, when we develop our programs, it is always developed with the understanding of the industry problem first, right? So for example, give you an example of companies that have legacy machines. They want to collect data from machines. So these are one common industry problem statement. So when we design our programs, yes, we do teach IoT, but the IoT is with the sole objective of solving an industry problem statement, right? So meaning to say that when we design the program, we design with the end in mind to solve a problem. So when companies come and learn, of course, they will never learn theory. Theory is only, 20%, 30% of the class. Is all hands-on. 70% at least is a hands-on. They will come in, we will really guide them from A to Z how to develop their own integrations, right? And they go back, they will be able to implement. That is the learning outcome that we focus on. So it's not so much of okay, come and learn, all right, I know how to connect this thing, and then go back and forget everything, right? So some companies, what they did is that they come and learn the technology, they go back, they see what is the kind of implementation that they can do, and then they come and talk to us, and then we sort of provide mentoring and guidance depending on what the application is for them to start their first project, or what we call as a proof of concept. So then companies can then see value of how they want to implement it. Now sometimes a lot of company hesitance is like, okay, do I need to spend very expensive to do this? Right, most of what we use at the moment, as much as possible, it is open technologies. So our training are mostly based on open technologies. If not open, it is a scalable technology. So when they want to implement it, it has a lower upfront investment, right? So training to implementation is the framework that we uniquely focus on in SHRDC. So that is the different, the main difference, I believe, for SHRDC programs. Yeah.
Dr. Chua, sorry to cut you off over there.
Sure. Now, no problem.
The thing is that for the SMEs, a lot of them, when they want to implement the Industry 4.0, most of them, they would likely be getting the assistance from the solution or technology provider and so forth. And they would have their own respective programming and so forth. So how would the knowledge that we gain from the SHRDC would be relevant, would be useful when we actually use some other people's solution? Would it be still relevant?
I believe yes, it would. Okay. No matter what solution you use, the fundamental standards are the same. There's no difference in the fundamental standards. Of course, if you do choose to work with other providers, it is always important for you to ask the very, very important questions about the standard communication. Why I say this is because we notice that when we work with many companies, when they invest in technology, sometimes maybe they forgot to ask certain questions for requirements. At the end of the day, that requirement is not there. So that means the system that they buy, they don't have that port, they don't have that add-on, they don't have certain things, right? So when they want to add it on, it's added money, added expenses, right? So joining training programs help you to understand how two machines talk to each other, how two systems talk to each other. If I want to connect A to B to C to D, how would I do it? So these are all training programs will guide you to do that. You may not use the same system, but the fundamental standards are the same, right? It's just different dashboard, different kind of system, more or less. Yeah.
Kenga is like this, sometimes if you wait for your people to be trained, the learning curve is too long. The learning time is too long. So what we did was we shortcut the system a bit. We got a mechatronics engineer. We also bit the bullet, so to speak, because we had to pay him a bit more because this guy is more cluey and so on.
That's the problem with paying a bit more.
Yeah. So, but we also engage Keng Ju, who is our system integrator. So the two of them work very well. They talk to each other well. They understand each other's language. I understand some of it. I don't understand some of it. But I know what it's I know what robots are capable of. I don't know how they communicate. Right now we got two robots working together with the injection molding machine. That one you need those things that Dr. Chia has talked about. So Victor and Keng Ju are working on the data collection system and so on. And so if there's any thing that we need to know a bit further, Dr. Chia was our backup. Victor will call Dr. Chia and say, hey, Dr. Chia, we need a bit of help with this. Can you tell us a bit more about this? Then when Dr. Chia explained, because Victor is a mechatronics engineer, he understands the language. If Dr. Chia were to explain to me, how this wire must, this signal, like that, the note rate and all that, that one is Greek to me. So sometimes bite the bullet and take a shortcut. Of course, there is always a risk. You employ this guy, if you don't treat him well, you don't have enough challenging job for him to do, he might leave you tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, correct. That's the problem. That's why
if you don't do it, 10 years time, you'll be out of business.
Yeah. So that's why the SMEs are very worried is that I'm spending the training. So just now, Dr. Chua has actually managed to actually tell us that when you go for training, it's not only about training about doing how you develop the system and so forth, but the fundamental things that you should know. Because when I have been involved in the industry forward for 3 years right now, looking at the readiness assessment report and so forth, and spoken to a lot of the SMEs. Many of them, when they wanted to look for the service provider and technology service provider at that time, they do not know how to look for the right one. Why? Because they don't have the basic knowledge of Industry 4.0 from the business perspective and the technical perspective. So it will all be dependent on how well does the solution provider or technology provider sell to them. Or this is a very good sales guy that managed to sell it. This is a very bad sales guy that managed not. But a lot of times that when we want to make such a long-term investment, we need to know what is available, what is possible, and what is feasible, and what is practical to our company. By having such fundamental knowledge as what Dr. Chua mentioned, we will be able to be more equipped in evaluating who will be the solution provider. And once we get the solution provider, we will have the team will be able to communicate with the solution provider as what Eddie mentioned just now. And should there be any further development, this team would be able to select a new solution provider or to further develop new kind of features and so forth. So the training part, the talent part is always still very, very important. Now, there's one question over here that I have to take from Joshua Chun. Joshua asks, how to counter when people are comparing longer ROI with robot and labor? So he given an example. He says that maybe the comparing monthly cost for the labor is 2,000 ringgit, but if want to use a robot to replace the job, it might take 10 years for the ROI. If take 240,000 for the robot, for example. Now, before I give this opportunity for the Dr. Chua and Eddie to answer, let me give my own opinion first. Number one, if your service provider or your technology provider or someone who is actually trying to promote the robot to you, and they are telling you that it's 240,000, but you can only save 2,000 ringgit a month, I believe that you are looking for the wrong technology or service provider. Okay, because a responsible solution provider, they sell solution, they don't sell technology. A solution is when that it would certainly reduce, it would certainly bring you the ROI. So if there is a 240,000 kind of the robot, I'm sure this robot can do much more than savings you 2,000. That is my piece of advice, but I leave it to Dr. Chua first, then followed by Eddie to maybe to answer Joshua over here.
Yeah. So thank you, Joshua, for the question. I think whenever you invest in technology, it's important for you, like I said, to understand the fundamental. So whether are you paying this X amount of money is it's a value for money. That's the number one thing, right? There are many other different brands of robotics or different brand of hardware that you can choose that fits your environment. For example, you can choose to go for a higher grade brand or a lower grade brand, but it can still serve the same purpose. So that's why technology know-how is a very important part to know first. Secondly, is that I always tell industries to look at your payback period first, right? As compared to ROI. Why? Because ROI, sometimes for some companies, they want to calculate the ROI is not so easy for them to see because they cannot really imagine the impact that certain investments would bring, right? But if you look at payback period, let's say, for example, if I digitize one machine and I pay only 10,000 ringgit, right? My payback period is in another 2 to 3 months or even 6 months. It's worth it, I think, right? If your payback period is so short, right? And if you see that your payback period is less than 3 years, it's actually very good. Why? Because if you invest in a robot and your payback period is going to be more than 10 years, you must always remember that every hardware has a lifespan capacity. Right? There will be a time that your hardware will start to deteriorate. You have to have more maintenance issues, or you may even need to replace it. So if you need to replace a robot before its after its lifespan ends, right, and you are still paying for it, I don't think it makes much sense. Yeah. So it's always important to think about the payback period. How long you need. Anything less than 3 years is a good investment. Anything more than that, I think you should rethink over again. Yeah.
Eddie.
My response to that is like this: every company has a different appetite in terms of payback period. To me, if a payback is more than 2 years, is probably maybe, I'm looking for payback 6 months to 1 to 2 years, if I can. So those are the what we call low hanging fruit. Do those lah, the 6 months to 2 years first. Then only you talk about three. But I honestly, I started off with a very risky thing. I bought a Rolls Royce of a cobot, from Denmark, the UR5. The UR5 cost double the price of the Chinese cobot. Now, why I thought I will still buy the UR5, because I surveyed the market, and I first saw the UR5 something like 10 years ago in K-Fair in Germany, but I couldn't afford it at that time, and my people were not ready. So, even though I really liked it, I didn't do anything. So my payback period, if I use that cobot for that job, was about 3.5 years. So why did I still embark on it? I said, okay, that's not where the cobot's strength is. The cobot strength is in other areas where it can do multiple jobs at the same time. Correct? I can save up to, if I save up to 2 operators and all that, And not only that, because I've designed it in such a way that it is portable, you know, it can it can fix onto this machine today. Next week, I can put it on another machine so that the utilization of the robot will be.
That's why that is very important for the SMEs when there are any solution provider that will that comes to you. It's very important you have that knowledge first. Okay, today we're talking about the talent, we're talking about the people and so on. We have to have the knowledge first. If we do not have the knowledge on such a thing, such knowledge, then every solution provider will come to you, then they would, that some of them they might actually mislead you, or some of them they might not understand your business enough to find out the real ROI. Because yes, as what Eddie mentioned just now, yeah, you have you can actually use it multiple area, then your ROI would be increased really. So these are the things that is happening now. Again, now there are still a lot of the, normally we would stop at 5 o'clock, but right now it's already 5:15, but I can still see that more than 50 are over here, meaning that you are still highly interested in the topic and do not want to go yet. Then if you do not want to go yet, then I'll ask this question again. Now, just now, Eddie and also Dr. Chua mentioned one keyword that I found: lean manufacturing. Okay, in order for you to embark into the industry 4.0, it is not only looking at the technology, but you also need to look at how are you going to improve your processes first. Because if not, then your investment might be higher than what it should be. Now, the questions over here is that lean process is something that is throughout the whole organization. Now, to embark into industry 4, some people say that you need to have the business direction first. Some people say that I will need to have the process. What are the process that I want to improve first? Some of them say that I will need to have the right people in my company first before I start the journey. And some others, they will say that, well, let's put in the technology. No technology, got people, no use, they cannot use it. So a lot of different kind of perspective that which one comes first, which one comes later. And let's be practical, SMEs a lot of times would not be able or capable of getting everything all together at one time. Okay, they would have to sacrifice some, prioritize some. Now, there's no right and wrong answer over here. It depends on your business strategy. It depends on the business operation. But I just wanted to hear the view from Dr. Chua and Eddie. Let's start with Dr. Chua first.
And definitely, Mr. Yap. I think lean, the lean methodology is actually a very, very important concept. Even in industry 4.0, right? This concept of lean applies to how we actually implement industry 4.0. And why a lot of our success stories from SHRDC, from training to implementation, it has been very, very much aligned with the auto parts manufacturers, those in the auto parts industry, is because most of them practice lean manufacturing. And why this lean manufacturing concept works a lot for these industries is because, number one, it focuses on the people. It's a culture. Lean is a culture, right? And with the right culture, you can actually do a lot of process improvements. That's number one. Number two is lean actually does not talk about big steps. It talks about small steps of improvements. And when you start to be involved in the small steps of improvement, we call it Kaizen, continuous improvement. Eventually, what they do is that if something works well, duplicate or replicate. Yokoten, they call it, right? So this concept of lean, when they apply it to implementing Industry 4.0, it starts to look at, getting the people involved, getting the people trained, getting them to go down to the shop floor, be hands-on, the Gemba, right? Find out how to improve it as a continuous improvement. So this kind of concept of lean helps a lot of companies to see the value in improvement strategies. if you don't have lean in the first place, right, I would say that a lot of companies, even if you put in the best technology of all, it may not actually bring you the best value because you don't know where to start to improve the process because you cannot see the gaps. But if you see the gaps in that in process improvement and continuous improvement, right, eventually, you will start to see Industry 4.0 really realizing that kind of continuous improvement strategies. So if you look at all the auto part manufacturer use cases that we have done, it's all start with the lean concept, and it start with using the lean methodology to integrate with Industry 4.0, or what we call as Lean 4.0, to realize that kind of very, very impactful implementation. Yeah, this is just some of my feedback, Mr. Yap.
Okay, thank you very much. What about Eddie? Anything to add on before
Agree with Dr. Chua wholeheartedly. As I mentioned earlier during one of the slides, you start with lean. Now, the other thing you need to do is actually brainwash your people, change their mindset. It's a better word, change the mindset, because unless you drum that into the people, the lean and the Kaizen, it is very hard to implement something. So, okay, that one I think Dr. Chia has covered. The other thing is about this talent first or technology first. I think if you can do it at the same time, it will be fantastic. You don't have any wastage of time. If you employ an engineer 6 months before you buy your first robot, the fly is going to be bored stiff, Okay or not? I mean, so if you say, okay, I employ you, you do some, try to come up with this thing, and then 3 months later, I only send you to Dr. Chua's course. He'll be wondering, what am I doing here? So if you can synchronize it together, the technology and the talent, it'll be so much better. Now people like pay as you use kind of thing, you learn as you need already. This is the new technique. In the old days, we learned it 2 years before we need. When I graduated as a mechanical engineer, a lot of the skills that I have is not being used, but later on it came in handy, and so therefore, if you can synchronize the two, very good. The ROI and all that, I think, yeah, you have to think about, what sort of appetite you have. For me, I took bit the bullet, 3.5 years payback. I say, okay, but that's not where it will stop. I can use it for other things. So there is a vision for the future. So start with the vision, try to synchronize the talent and the technology together. But before that, start lean, do the cultural change. Plasform started this cultural change 6-7 years before we actually go on heavy on the automation. And we did the training about 4-5 years before we went heavy on the automation. So a lot of preparatory ground, but today, sad to say, you don't have a lot of time as an SME, You've got to leapfrog, you've got to do a quantum leap almost. So how do you do that, The only thing I can say is work harder, the CEOs, work harder.
Okay, yep. Thank you very much, Eddie and Dr. Chua. Let me just summarize today's web forum. Number one, people aspect, the talent aspect is by no doubt that it is very, very important. No point having technology that no one's going to manage and no one's going to maximize the potential of it. That's number one. Number two is that just now we also mentioned that there is a program called Rise Forward. If your company already gotten your this readiness assessment report, please do contact the Smart Forward. My colleague already put down the contact over that site, or contact SHRDC, whereby we will actually guide you through how to apply for the fully subsidized, 100% fully subsidized, up to 25,000 the cost for you to get your people to be trained in Industry 4. That will be the second one. The third one will be that in order for us to actually embark into your smart manufacturing journey, always know what it is all about, what are the potential from the business perspective as well as from the production perspective. That is why that, as what Eddie has mentioned, it is very, very important to get the business owner or the CEO or whichever top management to be involved in the project. The best of all is that if you can have a committee, set up a special committee in this digitalization or the Industry 4 or smart manufacturing transformation, a committee to do it, that would be the best. Last but not least, by doing this, you might need a lot of the resources, okay? Resources in terms of the government side, in terms of their grants. Just now, Aggie mentioned there are grants. The Industry Forward Intervention Fund, which is 500 up to 500,000, is still available. Okay, MIDA is the secretariat in terms of the evaluating it. MPC Malaysia Productivity Corporation is responsible for the readiness assessment. But you don't stop there, because I always wanted to urge SMEs over here not to dependent on grant when you want to do transformation. Grant should come in as a bonus that would lessen your burden. It should not be the sole determinant factor that you want to do transformation. Because once you wait for the grant, your business will not grow as fast as what you want it to be, and your competition would come in. Now, to get all these resources, Smart Forward, we have already compiled all of the information, be it from the financial side, be it from the case study, be it in terms of process on how to start your journey. Everything is in the smartforward.my website. Also, every 2 weeks, we issue out the My Industry 4 Journal e-newsletter to all the manufacturers in our database. So you can get the updates as well. Now, also in the Smart Forward initiative, we have actually gathered some key solutions provider, which selected carefully by myself, that they must have the spirit of sharing first before they promote their services. So this group of the Smart Forward Industry 4.0 drivers, as we call them as Industry 4.0 drivers, they are committed in looking into your pain points, looking in the process, then they will look for the solution. The solution might not be their own, might be the fellow other companies, and they would actually do this all around and offer the SMEs a better options to solve their pain points. So please do go to the smartforward.my to look at them to see which are the suitable one. If not, if you have a general inquiry in terms of your smart manufacturing, you can send it in. The secretariat of this smartforward.my, they will actually channel this inquiry to the respective solution provider. And if you have any issues with the readiness assessment or have any issues with the intervention fund and so forth, if I can actually answer, I will answer. If not, we will help you to channel to the respective government agency. Now, with that, right now the time is 5:27. We will end this session, and thank you very much everyone for staying so long. It's supposed to end at 5 o'clock, but you stayed until 5:30, which also means that all of you are committed to learn more about Industry 4.0. Let's hope that every one of us embark into the journey. Let our own manufacturing company be more competitive, then our nation to be more competitive, and we will be able to be the technology hub or production hub, manufacturing hub for the region. So with that, stay safe, stay productive, move forward, smarter with Smart Forward. Thank you very much. That's the end of the session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.